Good afternoon. The Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Velasquez, Alderwoman Sanye,
Present.
Alderman Aldrich,
Present.
Chair Narayan,
Here.
Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Velasquez. We have 5 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. A quorum being present, I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, June 20th, 2024.
So move.
Second.
All right. Alderman Aldridge made a motion, and Alderman Clark Hubbard seconded it. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys.
Here.
We're on the approval of the minutes.
Oh, that's aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Velasquez, Alderwoman Sanye,
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich,
Aye.
Chair Narayan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. We have 6 present. We have passed the minutes out.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we're going to go a little bit out of order here. At the request of the President's office, we're going to hold the votes on Prop S. I know that there are people here to discuss Prop S funding, though, so we are going to take up public comment on that. We'll just do that first for anyone who's signed up. Madam Clerk, are there people either online or in person to speak on Prop S funding?
I do have a gentleman who said he wanted to speak, but I think they're waiting on someone.
Okay. Well, we can, is he the only speaker, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay, then we can take up one of our bills and circle back around Representative gets here. Thank you. So with
Sir,
that,
Chair,
I'm sorry, Alderwoman?
I just want to let you know, Chair, that there is also some written testimony in the file. If you would like, I'm happy to read that aloud when you get to it. It was someone in the 7th ward, so I just want to make sure that you knew that there was some written testimony that had been submitted as well when we get back to public comment.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take that all up at the same time. Thank you.
Yes.
So at this point, we will move back to item number 1, which is Board Bill 11. Alderwoman Saunier, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, Sir Chair and members of the committee. I am so glad that we are here. I'm going to start with making a motion to adopt the committee substitute.
So move.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, with that, we have adopted the committee substitute. We now have Board Bill 11 committee substitute in front of us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So we touched a lot of ground. We covered a lot of ground last time. Since the last time that we met, we've been able to have a meeting with the administration, and we've been able to talk to some more attorneys who kind of weighed in, and as well as colleagues. So the committee substitute is just some changes that are pretty simple that I'll walk us through. We can go to the next slide, Madam Clerk. So some of the key things that this does is it really clarifies the definition between contact visits and non-contact visits, specifically by adding professional visits to the definition. The administration just expressed that this is the language that a lot of the staff and employees within the CJC use, and so they wanted to make sure that the language within the bill mirrors the language that folks are familiar with within the facility. It also amends the hours of the CJC to the professional visiting hours that were in place, We had, there were some hours that were online, but then we found out that the actual physical notice that's at the facility has some different hours. We want them to be consistent with each other. And then further, we just added some clear directions on how attorneys can go about submitting electronic, their electronic notices for their visits. And then we cleaned up the penalty language so that that would be clear as well. And also at the suggestion of some of the public comment that we received last time, added some language that just says that a judge may also order, if anything happens, that a judge may also order how we could go about addressing some of the attorney fees that might be acquired by violation of the ordinance. We can go to the next slide, Madam Clerk. So just as contact visits, very similar as how we defined it last time, but we also added also known as a contact professional visit, which shall mean a privileged meeting between attorney and detainee where there are non-physical barriers between them. And then we also added the same context to the non-contact visit with the professional language, again, just so that these things mirror up with each other. And then we also wanted to make sure that we were clear that the attorney is usually in a non-contact visit meeting with a detainee inside of what is referred to as a professional booth. So just wanting some of the operational pieces to mess up with the language here. And we can go to the next slide. And just for clarity, so we're all on the same page as far as what is a professional visit. A professional visit essentially refers to a specific type of visit that aids in a detainee's defense or transition while in custody. These visits include all sorts of professionals. So obviously attorneys' visits are usually more kind of constitutionally and protected, but there are also legal assistants, there's Department of Human Services, there's foreign consultants, there's court-appointed interpreters, mental health and medical professionals. And so all of those sorts of visits fall under professional visits. And we want to do what we can to encapsulate that so that this matches up, so that the ordinance is very clear on kind of what we're addressing and who we're talking about. And then on this next slide, I just wanted to give some clarification as far as what the hours are, the language and the hours being consistent. So just between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., there are no restrictions on visits, including for people who are in administrative segregation or solitary confinement. So again, just mention those hours up, and then also just making sure that between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and 8 a.m., which are outside of those visits set, there's the 1 hour's notice time. And then for contact visits between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., 1 hour's notice is the expectation. And this is just some language to clarify, just to make it clear, one of the things that we talked about with the administration and some of their conversations with the commissioner was just about putting this into place. How would this work as far as execution goes? And so wanting to be very clear that the expectation is within 30 days from the effective date of the bill, the Division of Corrections will publicly post an email address where attorneys can send a notice of their intent to meet with the client and arrange a scheduling. And then within 60 days from the effective date, the IT department will work with corrections to develop a web-based form where attorneys can submit their notice and details. So we just wanted to be clear, at first, we may have to start with just a simple email address because it's much more easier to get that going. But in the meantime, they will be working on creating an actual website, an actual web form where you can go and kind of enter information when you want to request a visit. But we just wanted to make sure implementation wise, we were on the same page with the timeline for those things. And that we also allowed the administration and the commissioner the time that she would need to both develop the email address and to develop the form. And again, this form would be a part of the open public record that is mentioned in this ordinance. And the website will allow us to track track denied visits and the reasons for those denials so that we can make sure that that is an open and public record. And we can go to the next slide, Madam Clerk. And so the penalty section was something that was mentioned. We just wanted to be clear that the civil fine is between $100 and $500. Again, this is the civil fine on anything that we do here at the Board of Aldermen because of state statute limitations. But we also did add some language that says that a judge, may order an attorney's fees to the aggravated attorney, to the aggrieved attorney. So if something happens, an attorney gets denied access for an unfair reason, or this isn't followed well, and they do have to take it to court. Just mentioning that something that the judge could do is make sure that it's the defendant who is the person who violated the ordinance would be responsible for the attorney fees that could be incurred from that process. And that would apply to the commissioner, the sheriff, and any detention staff, facility member, whoever would be responsible for the violation of the ordinance. And with that, those are all of the big questions, but I'm happy to, talk a bit more. I tried to put within the presentation, if you guys are curious about any specific sections, there's page numbers and line numbers if you have a specific question about anything, but also definitely happy to take any questions now.
All right, I'll just go through the members of the committee. Alderman Oldenburg, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Alderwoman. Have you engaged at all with the Corrections Commissioner on this? And is there any dialogue associated with this with them and with the administration? Typically, we would have them also maybe here present to hear testimony. So I'm curious about that.
Yes, Alderman, I have engaged with the commissioner. I know I let her know when we filed the bill, but when we got around the time of calling for a hearing, let her know, hey, I'm going to email this to you. Would love to get your feedback. I know Alderman Aldridge did the same thing. One of the things that we did after the last meeting is we actually met with several folks from the administration to walk through. And so many of the changes that you see in the committee substitute are a result of things that she flagged and she said that would be needed. So like getting clear on the expectation for the form, getting clear on the email address, a lot of operational specific things are what's in the committee substitute. So I've met with the administration. I have not met with the commissioner herself. Would definitely be open to that. But from my understanding, the administration met with the commissioner and then they relayed to myself and Chair Narayan and Alderman Aldridge. We all had a conversation that led to the committee substitute that we adopted today.
Got it. So it's safe to say there's cooperation from the correctional commissioner as well as the administration on where the language is today.
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate that, Alderwoman. Nothing further, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
No questions, thank you.
All right, Alderwoman Keys.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Velasquez.
I have no immediate questions. Thank you, Alderwoman Sun, for doing this. I do have an amendment to propose to this bill, so I don't know how you would like to order things.
I guess I'll just ask, does the sponsor consider this a friendly amendment at this time, or?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I would let the sponsor answer that.
We would need to formally adopt it, but yes.
Okay. Then I guess I will. Let's get through questions, and then we'll circle on the amendment.
That was my question. Thank you.
Sure. Alderman Vice Chair Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions. Since this is a committee, per our rules, when bills change, anybody that co-sponsor was knocked off. So, Madam Clerk, could you add me back as a co-sponsor?
Noted.
Anything further, Alderman?
No questions.
Okay. So just a couple of things that I have for you, Alderwoman, and one of these is just a quick cleanup, I think, and then the other one is really a judgment call for you to make, just based on one of the conversations that we had on page 6, line 17. I think there's just a typo at the end. It says not acting under EH direction. I think that's probably a Scrivener's error, just that should say the.
Okay. Yes.
So I can make a motion that we just correct that real quick as a quick amendment here. So yeah, I move that we strike out the word EH on page 6, line 17, and replace it with the word the.
So, a second.
So-
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Who was the first? I didn't hear that.
Aye.
Oh, I believe that
Who made the motion?
Velasquez made the motion, I believe, and I believe Clark Hubbard seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we have adopted that. And then On some of the conversations that we had with other attorneys around where I was present, I know that one of the concerns was in the event that this was violated, that it would not necessarily be worth an attorney's time to pursue this, and that, that was going to take some of the teeth out of a violation, because at $500 a violation, it could just be the cost of doing business. And then there was a discussion about attorney's fees being included in this. I see that you have placed attorney's fees in here, a Judge May Award restitution. I'm just curious on your thoughts on changing that may to a shall.
Oh, I think that's great. I would welcome that. That was my intention with adding the language in, was to address what they flagged about the attorney's fees. I have no problem with changing it to shall.
Okay. Well, with that, then I will just make a oral amendment with your permission as the sponsor, that we strike the word may on page 6, line 9, and replace it with the word shall.
Second? Is that a motion?
Yes, yes. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We've adopted that as well. And Madam Clerk, if you could also add me as a co-sponsor on this bill,
Noted.
Can I say something?
then yes, Vice Chair Aldridge.
Can I make a motion to embank Board Bill 11?
Second.
Objection.
Any opposed?
Oh, we had an
Objection.
Okay, there is an objection to this going in bank, Alderman. All right, with that, we'll circle back to Alderwoman Velasquez. You're recognized for your.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's in the drive. I was going to say it is in there as Amendment 1, but that might be Amendment 3 in actuality. The amendment is to the Board Bill, page 3, line 11 to page 3, line 12. So beginning on page 3, line 11, after the words "or by electronic mail where available," to insert the following words and figures. A copy of this ordinance summary, including contact information for sending formal visitation requests outside of non-restricted contact area, shall be posted in a conspicuous location. So I move to adopt what is now Amendment 3, but is Amendment 1 in your drive.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, with that, we've adopted what will now be Amendment 3 to Board Bill 11, Committee Substitute as amended. And with that, Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you. I just, for clarity purposes, this is a question for my colleagues. Alderwoman Velasquez and Alderwoman Keys were both co-sponsors previously, and Alderman Aldridge said that we needed to be re-added. So did you all want to be re-added as co-sponsors?
Yes, please.
Yes, on the version, don't mean to speak out of turn, but on the version that we have, it looks like it's on there still, but.
Okay, it sounds like everyone on the committee, with the exception of Alderman Oldenburg, would like to be a co-sponsor. Is that what what your record reflects, Madam Clerk?
Noted. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, we're good there.
All right, well, thank you. I just really want to thank, first of all, I know that we have some folks in the audience today who will give public comments. So I want to just thank the attorneys and thank the community for, being transparent and sharing with us as legislators and as public safety folks who are charged with oversight of public safety, what the concerns are and what the issues are, and for being vocal so that we could know what we needed to work on. And then I really want to thank my colleagues. I think our meeting today, some of the meetings we've had in between time and previously, obviously Alderman Aldridge and I, we've worked together from the beginning. So just want to make sure I thank you for your collaboration and leadership on this. And then, I mean, really, everyone else, I could go down the committee, Alderman Orion, Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderwoman Keys. You all have just given very great input and been great to collaborate with. I really appreciated all of the changes today. I think they've made a stronger bill and kind of show the value of the committee process. And so I just want to make sure that I thank you all for that. And with that, I will renew my motion. And Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll? Oh, I would make a
Objection. We got public comment
Yeah,
first.
we do need public comment before.
Yes, we do.
Before you're recognized to close. And you can't steal my lines by asking the clerk to call the roll. But Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak on Board Bill?
Yes, I see a hand raised, and I have Ms. Kimberly Ann Collins here.
Is Representative Collins here to speak on this as well?
Yes, she
Okay.
said she wanted to speak on both bills, and
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, well, you're welcome to speak on it if you'd like, or. Could you please just state your name for the record?
Can you make sure your mic? Yeah, just turn it on. There you go.
Okay, cool.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
Yes.
All right, please proceed, Representative.
Okay, thank you. I am State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins. I represent the city of St. Louis in the Missouri House of Representatives, 2nd General Assembly. And I am speaking in support of House Bill 11, of the importance of attorneys getting access into the facility. I am in support of both of the bills, but I will speak just to this bill. I serve on a state level where we've been working throughout the correctional facilities at the state. And we have had some issues with attorneys being able to gain access to individuals who are incarcerated in our Missouri Department of Correctional Facilities to speak with them about the different appeals that they have. And so I've had to intervene sometimes on those issues, but I just want to uplift that this is a really good bill and that I am in support and that I will absolutely be back for the next bill to give an in-depth testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone else, Madam Clerk? Reverend?
Good afternoon to
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is
testimony I
true to the
give-
best of your ability?
all of that. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm here as the chair of the Detention Oversight Board. I want to say I'm extremely happy that this is occurring. I'm a little bit frustrated that we have to put into law something that should have been done without the legislative push. Across this country, these policies and process and procedure is already in place and not in place due to a conscientious alderperson seeing that there is a need. And so I want to state that I'm in support of this on behalf of our board, the St. Louis Clergy Coalition, of which I serve as political advisor, is in support of this board. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that I continue to be frustrated with this commissioner who continues to have to be urged, coerced, forced to do A, what is right, and B, what is in the best interest of those who she is charged. I don't want to use the word oversee. Charged with serving. I think it's important that we recognize that right now we have 680 detainees in our facility. 680. That's the average number over the last year or so. To even think that it's a hindrance and that lawyers for people who have been charged but not found guilty have got to continue to jump through hoops because this commissioner has not taken the initiative to do what many detention centers and penal institutions across this country have already done. And I would think that if this commissioner was versed in what is standard operational procedure in most of these facilities, would take the initiative to make it happen, then this august body of dedicated individuals would not have to use your time to do this, but use your time to do other equally valuable and critical things. And so I thank this committee. I thank the Alder people for taking the initiative today.
Thank you, Reverend. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
He had his hand raised, Mr. Stephen Hoffman.
Mr. Hoffman. Okay, I see you now. Could you raise your right hand, Mr. Hoffman? And do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I affirm.
All right, please proceed.
My name is Stephen Hoffman. I live in the county of St. Louis, but I work here. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Newton Barth here on Washington Avenue. I just have a few generalized comments. This is the first time I've ever given comments to any committee of the Board of Aldermen. I'm very pleased to see the effort that's been made here to solve what is a really serious problem. And I do want to say, though, that there's things that worry me about as we go forward, the practical implementation of this. For instance, if I'm visiting a detainee at 6:30 p.m., what happens at 7 o'clock when the regular professional hours have ended? Do I have to give notice that my meeting is going past the 7 o'clock hour? Or, am I going to be told that I need to leave and give an hour's notice? I'm also deeply suspicious if it's the city that has suggested the 1 hour notice period of why it would be necessary to have an hour of notice. I've been there when they lock the doors to the building, and yet there's still the same guard who was there at 6:30 is still sitting at the desk at 7 o'clock when the doors are locked. And all that would be required of them to facilitate a contactless visit would be to open the door, to let me in, to look at my credentials, and to walk me less than 20 feet to the professional visitors log, sign it, and then call upstairs, tell someone that which prisoner I'm there to see, and tell me which room to go to. An hour of time to arrange that at 7 p.m. seems to me simply, I'm not sure what exactly the employees would be doing in that hour that would be necessary to ensure anybody's safety, to ensure any sort of administrative function that needed to be done. Although I do certainly welcome the formalization of the after hours. Also, I just, as a suggestion, perhaps the pretrial release bond office, which is now staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, could be the entity that receives the written notice if that's continues to be necessary. They're in communication with the jail when individuals' bond is made, so they could easily be in communication with the jail when an attorney's made written notice. And what's most concerning to me of all is individuals who are in prisoner processing on the first floor. I have consistently been told by City Justice Center employees that they're not in the custody, that those individuals are not in the custody of the City Justice Center, that they're in the custody of prisoner processing. And my understanding is, of course, prisoner processing is in the City Justice Center. It's in the same building, but the employees there, from what I understand, are employees of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. And so the Sheriff's Department and City Justice Center employees don't believe that they're responsible for that those individuals, that they're not in their custody. And I'm concerned about whether or not this bill is going to facilitate professional visits with individuals who are in that process. And just to be clear, these people are in the same building, on the first floor, in a cell with either alone or with up to 10, 15, 20 other people waiting to be booked, waiting to be fingerprinted, waiting to be photographed. And if an attorney wants to visit them, the only thing that Justice Center employees have to do is to take them to the bond window on the first floor and arrange a visit there. So I'm concerned that there's still going to be obstruction there, whether intentional or non-intentional, just misunderstanding that those detainees do have a right to speak to their attorney while they're still being processed without interrupting that booking process. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer from my experience. But again, I want to show my strong support for the bill and especially the spirit behind the bill. And I just hope that the implementation of it results in better access. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Before I ask the committee if anyone has any questions, will you please tell Talmadge over there at Newton Barth that I said hello?
I will.
And
He'll appreciate that.
Does the committee have any questions for Mr. Hoffman? All right. Thank you so much for your testimony today.
I don't have questions, but some of the questions he asked, I do have a response to.
Oh, please proceed, Alderwoman.
Thank you. Firstly, Mr. Hoffman, thank you. I know you said it's your first time. Thank you so much for coming. I hope we see you again. So just for some clarification, after hours for non-contact visits will allow those meetings. It's not the expectation that if you're already in a meeting, you have to send notice. It's so that will be, it's allowable, but it's not the expectation that if you're already there that you have to then request to be there because you would already be there. The hour notice was something that was requested. Originally, I had proposed a half-hour notice. The reason for that expectation is in most instances from what the administration has expressed to me is because just certain visits, they need to have staffing available. So if you look at the context of the bill, the difference between the contact and non-contact, that's really the difference is the staffing that they need available. So if they have to have staffing available outside of those normal hours, it's just to give them a window to do that. And again, that can be done via phone call or email before the attorney is present at the CJC. And it's also to accommodate for many of what many attorneys have said that they spend a lot of time waiting in the CJC in the lobby for their visit. And so the hope is that if they have the ability, if the windows, the time expectations are clear, the windows of visits are clear, the type of visits are clear, and there's also the ability to call or email, then hopefully when an attorney goes in, they're able to get access to the facility. And then I would also just say that this legislation does cover any city entity involved with the jail. So it does not just specifically say the CJC or the sheriff's office. It specifically says any entity within the city of St. Louis, so that we are making these rules blanket, as blanket as we can to all of the relevant facilities. But it does say, the detention facilities shall mean any jail, detention, holding, or correction facility owned or operated by the city, the divisions of corrections, or the sheriff of the city of St. Louis, or any jail, detention, or correctional facility owned or operated by another party where detainees are housed for the city. So I try to do my best to be as intentional as possible to encapsulate all of that. And then again, always would recognize that no bill is going to necessarily cover all issues, and a lot of things do rely upon the implementation and how the operation goes. But we have had some really good conversations with the administration, and when we met, I can say that they were very intentional about talking about the implementation and operation, which is why some of the changes have been made, which to me seems a bit promising, because I would imagine that if you spend so much time wanting to make sure that the policy is clear so that it can be carried out clearly, that shows, at least an early sign, a good sign of wanting to address some of these problems that exist. And then I know you also asked about the opportunity to have the pretrial office to do that. I'm happy to have further conversations, but I usually avoid within legislation that we file at the legislative branch. If it refers to a county office, I try to avoid that since we don't necessarily have jurisdiction over them. And I think that the bond office, the pretrial office, those are more operational pieces and can sometimes, tie to county offices. You also can always feel free to email me anything you said today, any further questions. Legislation is an ongoing process, so I'm certainly happy to see if there's anything else we can do to address some of the flags that you've raised.
All right, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else to speak on this? Do you have any written testimony on this?
We had a total of 3 written testimonies in the drive.
All right. Give you all a moment to look through those, should you so choose. All right, Alderwoman, you are recognized to close.
Thank you. I kind of gave my closing a little earlier today. So, again, I'm just really grateful that we're doing it. And I think who I didn't thank was the administration. And so I would, just thank the administration again for the meeting and for the conversation. And at the end of the day has got to end. So I would like to make a motion that we pass Board Bill 11 Committee Substitute as amended with the do pass recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Been moved by Alderwoman Saunier, seconded by Alderwoman Velasquez. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Odenberg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys,
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez,
Aye.
Alderwoman Saunier,
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich,
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
We have 7 aye votes.
All right, with that, we have passed Board Bill 11 Committee Substitute as amended out. And Alderwoman, you weren't in the room, but there was some celebration in here. All right, with that, we will move to Board Bill 12. Alderman Aldridge, you're recognized.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'll keep it brief as possible because I know we also have people here to talk about the Prop S funding, or P, whichever number it is, or letter. So Board Bill 12 is a companion bill to Board Bill 11. Board Bill 11 talks more about access for attorneys. Board Bill 12 talks about access for individuals just to be able to access the jail. A lot of this language came from our state statute where representatives have access to.
Alderman, real quick before.
Oh, yeah. I will move to adopt the committee
I
sub
adopt this, yeah.
committee sub for Board Bill number 12.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion to adopt Board Bill 12 Committee Substitute. It was seconded by Alderwoman Velasquez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. With that, we've adopted Board Bill number 12 Committee Substitute. Alderman, please proceed.
Thank you. Good looking, Mr. Chair. Again, so this is just giving access to certain individuals to be able to access the jail. Also, like Alderwoman Saunier mentioned, myself, her chairman, Brett Narayan, we met with the mayor's office this week to make changes and get input from the administration and some of the concerns that potentially the jail commissioner has. So everyone has the red line version in front of them. I'm just going to highlight some of the changes. So the previous bill gave access to the public, the Department of Public Safety, the mayor, the president, aldermen, judges, city councilor, prosecutor attorneys, defense attorneys. And what we did is for authorized users, we limited that to certain individuals, not to just open it up. So we took out prosecuting attorneys, defense attorneys, and what we did is we allowed individuals who are authorized users to be able to bring in potential up to 4 individuals with them. So it's not just open for everybody, as well as we put in language where it says the employees, supervisees, which can be meant for the authorized users employee. So the Board of Aldermen, if an alderman member wanted to go into the jail, they still could bring a defense attorney, prosecutor attorney, as well as clergy, but we wanted to just kind of tighten that language a little bit so we have a clear understanding of who can be able to enter, as well as being able to allow them to still enter with the alderperson. We also put a clear definition around clergy. understanding that clergy will also be able to enter the facility. One of the concerns that Alderman Ryan brought up was, how do we define clergy? So put tighter language around that. I do want to bag up a little bit. One of those authorized users that also can enter the facility is our detention facility oversight committee, or board members and their staff. That was one of the recommendations from Nicole Barton, who's been working on the DFOB and COB language for a while to make sure that we include staff. In Section 3, very similar to Board Bill 11, we had it open and originally any time of the day, but we wanted to also stick to the current visiting hours that is assigned at the jail from the hours of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to always ensure that when people want to visit the jail, that there's also staff there to be able to accommodate people visiting the jail, to also make sure that individuals will be safe in the process. We understood that during those visits, we also want to be very sensitive to detainees if there is an emergency going on, or if they may be like in the shower. We don't want people to just walk through the jails in those times. So on page 3, line number 3, we added in those visits couldn't happen unless, or if there was a medical service being actively happening. So if a detainee was having some type of medical treatment, teeth pulled, gunshot wound or something like that, we wanted to respect the detainee and ensure that people aren't able to see that process, as well as we put in language around the showering area. So when those visits are happening, we again want to, as much as possible, give those detainees their respect to at least have some type of privacy, understanding that they are in a facility. And then the last big change, I would say, is on page 4. It is a similar language in Board Bill 11 around the penalty. If penalty in violation, if this ordinance is not followed, that there can be a fine from $100 to $500 that would go to the judge to ensure that we continue to follow the ordinance that is put forward. Trying to make sure that we put some teeth in these pieces of legislation, that it's not just legislation feel good, but there actually is some accountability around it. Again, these were conversations that I also appreciate Chairman Ryan being part of, as well as Casey or Celeste Millbrook and Sarah Baker from the mayor's office for sitting down at the table, just trying to make sure that we get this right. I will say they were in support of the legislation. Well, I won't say in support, but they gave a lot of good feedback. We don't have official support from the office, but they gave a lot of good feedback, which I believe made the bill a lot stronger for Board Bill 11 for access for attorneys, and then this Board Bill 12 to give access for elected officials, DFOB members, public safety director, mayor, and the president board of aldermen, just trying to codify it into law. And with that, I open up for any questions.
All right, I'll just lead off with the same question that I had for Alderwoman Saunier regarding the attorney's fees. I know that you were also a part of that conversation. Was there a reason that you went with may rather than shall? Just
Nope, I think that was, kind of a clerical catch from you, Mr. Chair, which I appreciate. On page 4, line 14, after the period, the judge may allow, if you want to offer a friendly amendment to change that may to shall, I would be willing to support that to make sure that it actually is accountable with the penalty clause.
yeah, so then I will move page 3, line 17. We strike out the word may and replace it with the word shall.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so we have adopted that. We now have Board Bill 12 Committee Sub as amended in front of us, and
Bless you.
open it up to the committee. Sorry, I have too many pieces of paper in front of me. Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions on this bill. Thank you.
All right, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Keys.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Velasquez.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Saunier. Bless you.
Question.
No questions, thank you.
I feel like I should ask you a question, just not let you off the hook this easy, but I think that's probably a testament to the amount of footwork that you did at the beginning of this and through the committee substitute, that everyone seemed to have their questions for the most part answered. So with that, I'll recognize you to close. Oh, wait, excuse me. We need to have public input.
I think Alderwoman Clark Hubbard said add as a co-sponsor.
Oh, could you
Noted.
add Alderwoman Clark Hubbard? And could you also add me as a co-sponsor, please?
Noted.
And do we have anyone signed up for public testimony on this?
We do. We have Ms. Kimberly Collins and Reverend Darrell Gray.
All right. Representative Collins, we'll just say that you're still under oath, so please proceed. No, you're still good. It lasts for 24 hours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, I'm State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins. Again, I represent the city of St. Louis in the Missouri House of Representatives, 102nd General Assembly, second regular session. And I want to first thank the sponsors of these bills, Alderwoman Saunier and then Alderman Aldridge, for the work that you all are doing. This is a issue that's really passionate in my heart. And so I just wanted to come and give some support, especially coming down from the state level, because it's very important that we show collaboration between our state elected officials and our local elected officials. And so the oversight piece is super important, it's super urgent. And at the state level, I filed a House Bill 1922, which would open up the door for a oversight committee for DOC. And I'm uplifting DOC because it's the work that I do at the state level. And we have 19 correctional facilities in the state of Missouri and 2 treatment centers. Can you hear me? Okay. And when we looked at state statute, which Alderman Aldridge mentioned, state statute, which is Missouri Statute 217.265. It does allow elected officials and other that serve at the state level and clergy members to be able to go into the correctional facilities. Exclusively to the state public officials, it allows us to go into those correctional facilities at any time, for any reason, on any given day, without giving notification to DOC staff members and DOC administration. And so I've exhausted that statute, and I know it's people at the State House that really wanted to change that statute because they like, this girl just keep on showing. So to this date, I've done close to nearly 400 prison visits, and I call them prison pop-ups. And they're super important, especially when it pertains to prisons and jails. Any individual that is detained, it is common psychology that individuals should be afforded that right of basic needs, which is shelter, food, water. And these are things that we are afforded under the U.S. Constitution under Amendment 8, no cruel and unusual punishment. And so all of the incidents that have happened in the St. Louis City Jail, I've gotten, you would not believe how many calls I've gotten just because people see the work that I do at the state level in the prisons. And I do that work in the prisons because the oversight is super important, but it's also important to be able to see raw and uncut, right? Untouched. When you can see things untouched, you're able to come back on a perspective, on a legislative perspective, and say, hey, okay, this is what I should be legislating. These are the policies that I should be looking at. And so that is one of the reasons why I go into the correctional facilities to see what kind of policies and pieces of legislation should we be passing at the state level to better improve living conditions in our facilities, but also looking at ways that we can help reduce the number of individuals that are sitting inside of our correctional facilities. But then it also gives us the ability to have a deepened relationship formed between inmates and government officials. And that would be the same as the jails, between detainees and government officials, which is the Board of Aldermen. So I'm fully in support of this bill, and I wish that there was something written in this bill that would have allowed me as a state representative to show up in the St. Louis City Justice Center, because I have actually never been inside of the St. Louis City Justice Center. Now, I haven't read this bill in full length, but I know I support it 100%. I know you've all have made some changes. Hopefully, there's a provision in this bill that says you can bring someone as an elected official, because I know we do have that ability at the state. You know, I've brought several people into different correctional facilities, you know, just to take a look at somewhat, not all of the bad things, but some of the good things, because we worked on legislation with good time credit. So I'm in support of this bill, and I think that it's a very good bill. It's very urgent, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Representative. Next, we have Reverend Gray. And Reverend, you're still under oath, so please proceed.
I understand from the previous speaker that I'm under oath for 24 hours.
Yep. That's how long it lasts, I guess.
Again, I'm here representing the DFOB. On the city website, the definition, responsibility, mandate, purpose of the DFOB is listed, and one of the things that it says on our city website is granted access to city detention facilities upon request in order to obtain information and make findings and recommendations, including recommendations regarding Division of Corrections policy and procedure, employment, personal development, and employee disciplinary action. I've been on the board for 2.5 years. Again, I'm frustrated that we have to continue to come back, even after 2.5 years, to say the same thing. We've been trying to get access, open access, real access for 2.5 years. And so now we have to come back again, revisit the same legislation. And I'm not completely sure, Mr. Chair, based upon the authority that we're already granted, how this legislation impacts the authority that we are supposedly already granted. And so it may be, as my grandmother would say, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. That could be it. So at least, again, I'm glad that this committee is still having the conversation and working to ensure that those of us who have been asked to do a job are able to do our jobs. As the representative said, and I'm very proud of her, she's my representative, we're still talking about people. We're talking about the fact that even though they are detained, they still have constitutional rights. That even though they are detained, we are now charged. When I say we, the government, the administration, this committee, is charged for the welfare and the well-being, the safety and the security of everyone who inhabits that building in any way, detainees and staff. And we've tried to, Mr. Chair, always make it very clear as an oversight board that that is our concern. It's not just the detainees, but it's everyone in there. And we want to make sure that their safety and security is a priority. You asked a question about clergy. I've had the privilege of serving as a prison chaplain, but I've also served as a prison CO. Yeah, I've lived in both worlds. And I've had the unpleasant experience of being a resident in the Justice Center, although overnight. And now I serve as chair of the Oversight Board. And all of these experiences, I believe, have helped me. To answer specifically your question about clergy, no clergy will be able, my understanding, to participate unless they have to show their credentials. And usually those credentials are certified by the organization in which they represent. For me, for example, it would be the Missionary Baptist State Convention, because that's our ordination body. So we're not talking about any jackleg preacher. In the hood, we call them jackleg. Somebody who just wakes up one day and says, I want to preach. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who have been certified, people who have been vetted, And I still think, and I could be wrong, I stand to be corrected, that they would probably have to go through the same process, the training, at least of the policies and procedures of the CJC before they gain entry. So there is a vetting process, there's a certification process, all of that will happen. So I don't think that anybody's looking at just sending anybody in there, particularly clergy. And the clergy that I represent, be it the Baptist Ministers Union or the Clergy Coalition, that's one of the things that we support. We don't want just anybody being sent in there. But at the end of the day, Mr. Chair, we believe that involving clergy in that process, in that building, adds another layer of service. You know, we're down correctional officers. And so there are certain services that we cannot provide for detainees because of a limited amount of staff. And so that clergy layer brings in most of these folk are counselors, certified counselors, and so forth, be it family counseling, individual counseling, and they are a connection to the outside between detainee, family, resources, etc. And so that's what you bring when you allow qualified, competent clergy to have access. And so again, to Alderperson Aldridge and all of you who support this bill, it is necessary, it is critical, it is vital, and it is so helpful. Realizing, as I close, Baptist preachers always have 3 closes. You should know that by now. You should know that by now. That at the end of the day, as I said, 680 detainees who are locked up, limited services, limited access, most of them having to stay in their cells for security reasons, according to CJC, because they don't have the human resources to be able to give them a little bit more access, mobility within the Justice Center. And so all this is helpful. We want to make sure that what we're doing in the CJC is not creating a problem, but utilizing people who can help mitigate problems. And so I applaud this legislation. I applaud this committee for continuing to make sure that this issue does not become a back burner issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
We have Mr. Andrew Caldwell.
Mr. Was it Cardwell?
Caldwell.
Caldwell, excuse me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I do.
All right, please proceed.
Oh, my name is Andrew Caldwell. Good evening. My name is Andrew Caldwell. I'm a great resident in 9th Ward. And it's very important, I do support this bill, and it's very important that you guys gain access to the jail. I too was an overnight resident in the jail when the protests, and I was treated like trash. They did not feed me. The staff was able to take pictures of us while we were in there, and that's how the next day my picture ended up on the internet. So anyone who's watching or listening and in the room, I really want this bill to be passed today. I support it, and I'm pretty sure, Chair, you support it as well. And it would be nice that you guys will have access to cameras that's in the jail as well, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will be all.
That's all. Is there any written testimony?
It's the same ones. They were in
Same-
support of
same
both
written
11 and
testimony?
12.
All right, thank you. And with that, Alderman Aldridge, I'll recognize you to close. Oh, excuse me. It looks like Alderwoman Saunier has her hand.
I would like to make a motion to embank this.
There's been a motion to embank this.
Objection.
All right, it's been objected to by Alderman Oldenburg. Is everyone who would like to be a co-sponsor on this on it? Do you have Alderwoman Clark Hubbard?
Noted.
And do you have me on it?
I can add you, yes.
Okay.
I believe Alderwoman Keys was on it last go round too.
She was. Is she asking to be a co-sponsor on this one as well?
I don't know if she's still on.
Alderwoman Keys?
We could always catch it on the floor. It's not that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll let her know.
I want to stay a co-sponsor.
Noted.
All right, Alderman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I do just want to clarify one thing. I appreciate all the speakers who spoke and commend the work that Representative Collins do on the state level. When we served up there, I didn't visit as many prisons as she did, but we did go to a couple of them together. And also appreciate the work that Mr. Darrell Gray and Andrew Caldwell's do for the community. There is, I just want to clarify though, for clergy, for them to be able to enter with an authorized user, there isn't any certification that they have to provide. We just end up putting language around what clergy means just to define it more, but they would not have to provide any certifications or their ordained license or anything like that. Thank everybody on this committee for working through this process, especially you, Mr. Chairman, as well as the mayor's office and Alderwoman Sonnier. I think this is a critical piece of legislation that just brings more transparency to our jails. And with that, I would close.
All right, at this point, I will make a motion that we pass Board Bill number 12, Committee Substitute, as
Second.
amended out of Public Safety with a do pass recommendation.
Second, all that.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Velasquez. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonnier.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. We have 6 aye votes.
With that, we have sustained the motion and passed this out with a do pass recommendation. Congrats, Alderman. Now we will move to committee discussion, item number 1. As I stated at the beginning of the hearing today, at the request of the President's office, we're holding the vote on this until the meeting on the 11th. But I know that there's people here to speak on this, so I want to make sure that you guys are heard. So with that, Madam Clerk, if we could go through any speakers on Prop S.
First, we have Ms. Kimberly Ann Collins.
All right, Representative Collins, please proceed.
Oh, okay.
You good?
Thank you. Again, I'm State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins. I represent the city of St. Louis in the Missouri House of Representatives 102nd General Assembly, second regular session, and I am here testifying on Prop S. I am speaking in support to uplift an organization in the city of St. Louis's 10th Ward, right across the street from the 9th Ward, and it is the Youth Exploring Science Program. It is a program that was founded in 1998. It is a program that is capped under the St. Louis Science Center, although it is its own separate 501c3. I am a former graduate of that program when I was in high school, and then also former Alderman Brandon Bosley, who also has a public health background, science background. He was a graduate of this program as well, the Youth Exploring Science Program. So it is a community program that works with teens in underserved and oftentimes underprepared communities to get them into a field of STEM. And this program is nationally recognized, as well as it has a long legacy. We are 25 years in the game. This year will be 26 years. We celebrated our 25th anniversary last year on November 26th. And the amount of individuals that come from North City, St. Louis, kids teens who come and engage in this program and they get those skills that they need to go into the STEM profession is absolutely amazing. Actually, I have a public health background. And so I graduated from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, in my degree in public health sciences and chemistry, but I just happened to be in politics. And we do know this is the Public Safety Committee, so public health is public safety, and public safety is absolutely public health. And so I wanted to uplift that this program did apply for the Prop S funds. This is their first time applying for city funds, and we thought that it was absolutely necessary to come and speak in support of their organization and the work that they do, and they have so much. I mean, we're talking about people going into agri-science, bioscience, right? We're talking about engineer. I mean, it's a lot. And we also take the skills that we learned in this program, we take them and we put them into our St. Louis public schools. And so I started off as a youth exploring science teen, and then I graduated out of the program and actually became a supervisor for 2 years. And so I was a supervisor for 2 years, teaching teens science activities, and then we took that information and we passed that off into our St. Louis public schools, teaching our babies the importance of entering into the STEM field early. And so I would hope that we would have your gracious support. I know that they turned in a phenomenal application, and I hope that you all see that on paper, in our hearts and in our heads, that they do have the support from my office, and they have the support from a lot of kids and families in North City, St. Louis, and actually all across the city of St. Louis. Like I said, they are a nationally recognized program. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Next, we have Rebecca Thompson.
Ms. Thompson, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I do.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you so much. I am the new Chief Science and Education Officer at the St. Louis Science Center, and wanted to speak on behalf of the YES program as well. This is an absolutely transformative program, and we really appreciate your consideration. First, let me offer the regrets of Saina Williams, who is the Senior Director of this program. She was unable to attend conflict. And again, we are first-year applicants, and really appreciate your consideration. This program, one thing I'd like to highlight is it has about 120 teens a year. But these teens are then teaching the next generation as well. It's exposing teens to STEM careers, and then also they take what they've learned and teach the next generation as well. So this is really a program that reaches all generations, reaches their parents, and exposes them to STEM careers. I've only been with the Science Center for about a month and a half, and cannot speak highly enough of this program. It was one of the reasons I wanted to join the Science Center, to really see how this program gives teens the opportunity to experience things that they might not otherwise have the ability to. So I want to thank Dr. Collins so much for speaking on behalf of this program, and really look forward to your ability to review our applications. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
That will be all.
All right. Is there anyone else in the room who wants to speak on this? Sometimes people didn't sign up. All right. With that.
I do see one more. Someone just raised their hand. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, that's Miss Sonier.
Alderwoman, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Ryan. As long as you're okay with it, I'll just read the written testimony that was sent in. I had ran into them at a neighborhood meeting and told them I would try to read what they had allowed if they sent it in.
Sure. And is that the testimony from Nora Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. No, feel free.
All right. Okay. My name is Nora Ryan. I'm a resident of the city of St. Louis, Tower Grove East neighborhood, and a mostly retired lawyer in private practice. Please note that I am submitting these comments as an individual and not a representative of any organization. Also, these comments are based upon my experience as a local resident, not an insider to city government. I hope that the Public Safety Committee is able to take immediate steps to get the process for Proposition S grants back on track. Here's the estimated schedule that was contained in the RFP, opening date January 16, 2024. I won't read the chart aloud. Essentially, she just has some dates outlined, and it just says that the estimated contract start date was supposed to be June 1st, 2024, and then some of the dates that would have led up to that point. Since 2009, the Board of Aldermen's Public Safety Committee has awarded grants to nonprofit organizations to provide youth crime prevention services in the city of St. Louis out of a fund with roughly $1 million available per year, though substantially less in some years. The funding amounts have varied, but for many years, the funds enabled some grassroots organizations in the city to provide services to youth that would not have been provided any other way. The funds are and always have been controlled by this committee of the Board of Aldermen. For clarity, Proposition S, Youth Crime Prevention Funding, is not the same as the Proposition S of the St. Louis Public Schools. Typically, a Prop S RFP was released in August or so with an October submission deadline. Some years, one or another independent third-party nonprofit was asked to review the applications and advise the subcommittee of the Public Safety Committee on ranking the applications. Selection of proposed grantees by the subcommittee and then the full Board of Aldermen Public Safety Committee would normally occur no later than mid-December with approval of a resolution. Contracts, fairly simple in format, were then entered into between grantee and the Public Safety Department and approved in due course. Funding, which was allowed to be retroactive to programming activities started January 1st, would begin early in the calendar year. The Public Safety Department would even allow some grantees to receive a small amount of funds in advance of starting up services. The funding was awarded by calendar year, not city fiscal year. The funding was provided on a reimbursement basis, meaning that grantees had to submit monthly bills to the Public Safety Department and would be reimbursed for approved expenses. In 2023, new processes were implemented, which required longer timeframes to work through. Funding did not start and was not retroactive to January 1st. An organization that I volunteered with did not receive notice that it could begin 2023 programming until May 8th, 2023. Since the programming was at a public school and there were only 2 weeks or so left in the school year, this meant that program activities could not begin until fall 2023. Program activities under the grant ended in December 2023. A request for an extension to use the funds through June 30th, 2024, the end of the city's fiscal year, was denied, although such requests had always been granted in the past when grants were administered by the Department of Public Safety. This year, the deadline to apply for a grant was March 15th, 2024. To my knowledge, applicants have received no word since that date. I believe the Office of Violence Prevention hoped to have program services begin June 1st this year, per the estimated schedule set out in the RFP. I believe the intention this year was to more closely align the grant year with the city's fiscal year, which has a July 1st start date. Again, these relatively small grants are very important to some of the grantees who have been receiving these funds, and I hope that the Public Safety Committee will move quickly to get the award process back on track. Thank you. Nora J. Ryan.
Thank you, Alderwoman. All right, so do any committee members have any announcements? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I know we don't have the original Dr. Collins, president of HBCU Harris Stowe, but I know we got our daughter here who just got her honorary, sound like Dr. Collins. So we got two Dr. Collins that's doing great work in the city of St. Louis. So congratulations, Dr. Collins, Kim Collins. The lady just gave it to me.
I didn't realize that. Congratulations, Doctor. All right, and I believe all members were present today?
All members were present.
Then that just leaves us to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Oh, we got to stay here. No, we stand adjourned.